Welcome, everybody. Hello. Good to see you all. Welcome to our Friday afternoon party. Now, today, our goal is to think about peer educators, right? So this content was developed with peer educators in mind, with tutors, SIs, peer mentors, embedded tutors. However, we've also created these workshops so that they're awesome for any educator. So everything that we've done here is also great to start your meetings or your office hours or your classes or anything else. Really, we just set out to be thinking about how does a peer educator open a session in a way that everybody wants to open their session. So it's very universal design oriented. So thank you all for coming. I first want to introduce us. My name is Crystal. I'm the Center for Academic Success Director at Pierce College. I'm also a coordinator for the California Chancellor's Office 3CSN organization. That is the California Community Colleges Success Network. And we are funded through the Chancellor's Office to bring all kinds of cool professional learning and networking opportunities to educators of every kind all across California. So that's who sponsors these free weekly workshops from 3 to 4, and then our discussion from 4 to 4:30 should you choose to stick around for that. Just for the sake of time, I'm going to rattle off everybody else's name and they're going to do the wave. We have Lindsay. They are an MS counseling student at Cal State Northridge, former philosophy tutor at Pierce College. We've got Cameron Brenner-Chanchian, who's going to do the wave, graduate student of political science, also a former tutor at Pierce College. And Madushi, oh my gosh, Madushi, I swear I tried to practice your last name and then I forgot to practice it. So could you unmute yourself and tell us your last name?
Yes, it's Madushi Wanyarachige.
Isn't that great? And I don't want to mess that up. That's an amazing last name. So I'm going to practice it. Madushi is a current accounting tutor at Pierce College. So welcome aboard, everybody. So the way this is going to work is we're going to start off with muting everybody so we don't hear the clanging of pots and pans in the background. But we do want you to participate. You can type some stuff in the chat. You can raise your little Zoom hand. We'll invite you to unmute yourself. If you can't do either of those things, or it's not working out for you, if you could just put a little 1 in the chat. Madushi's going to be watching the chat and we'll make sure that we get your question or your comment attended to. We will take pauses throughout the session to take questions and to hear your amazing ideas. So it's all going to happen in that little black bar at the bottom of your screen. You're going to find the chat function and the reactions function. So you can tell us your name and your college and your role if you haven't already done so. And if you want to raise your hand, you can click reactions and raise your hand. And you can also click reactions and give us a heart or a hand clap or a thumbs up. We're not mad about that. We love participation in all forms. So keep it active and keep yourself engaged today. Today, just in the next hour, we're going to generate and share some ideas for how to open your session. So how do you facilitate those first 5 crucial minutes? How do you build a safer, more trusting environment for students to learn in? How do you create some community? How do you prepare your students sort of like cognitively for the learning ahead? And how do you set expectations and agreements for the session so it runs smoothly? And how do you do it all in 3 minutes? My goodness. So we're going to talk a little bit about that today. But before we start, I want to just set up some community agreements so we can set up our minds for the learning ahead. All right, so this is going to be super chock full of activities and discussions and video examples. So just get ready to engage. This might be stuff that you've done before. It might be stuff that's totally new, but I know some of you have some stuff to contribute, either through questions or experiences or successes or even dismal failures. We want you to share all of those experiences and questions and support each other as we have questions, confusions, successes, and failures as well. we will have breakout rooms, but we do understand that some of you might be driving, attending to children, and cooking, or possibly all three at the same time. So if you are in listen only mode and you can't go into a breakout session today, just message me or Lindsay, and we will make sure that you don't go into a breakout room, so we can keep those breakout rooms full of people who really have something to say and can contribute. Just remember to be kind. Like, it's a hard world out there right now. In order to learn, we need to take risks. In order to take risks, we need to be feeling safe and good in our environment. So that all starts with kindness. And this, then just finally, remember to interact, even if you're not speaking in front of the whole group, and we hope you do. But if that's not your jam, put something in the chat, give us a thumbs up or a reaction, or participate in the break rooms, but find some way to contribute today. So with that, let's talk a little bit about opening activities. So opening activities are absolutely crucial. How you introduce yourself, how you plan that out is really going to set the tone for your entire session or course or whatever it is that you're starting. So let's talk a little bit about why they're so crucial. What we know about brains now is that learning requires safety, but learning is also not always a safe activity for everybody. What we know now about how brains work is that a lot goes into our ability to learn other than our knowledge about how to divide fractions, right? Other stuff goes into our ability to learn too, including how we as educators relate to our students, how we as educators talk to our students, how our students talk to each other, how welcome students feel in the environment, how anxious and scared they feel, and how capable they feel for the task ahead. This stuff really does make a big difference, and if you'd like to learn more, there's some really wonderful resources there at the bottom of the slide. I can make these slides available to you or give you those resources as well. So let's talk about what might go into an opening activity. So some characteristics of good opening activities. One is that they build community. Again, we said before that that learning really does require a certain level of safety and bravery for that risk taking. So just taking even just a few minutes to build some community and talk about what to expect can really build that crucial pre-ingredient for learning. Helping people interact with each other is also really going to grease the wheels of learning. People are going to decide right away if they're allowed to ask questions, if their language or their discourse or their presence is welcome. So helping people interact right from the beginning is absolutely crucial. And also just keeping in mind, how do we establish empathy amongst our community? So again, we have to feel a little bit vulnerable in order to make the mistakes that are required for learning, but lots of learning environments do not foster the kind of empathy that help us feel like we can make those crucial mistakes. So how do we help people understand that this is a place where you can be wrong, make mistakes, and then learn? Again, if you want more on this, I've got some references at the bottom. I'm happy to share those with you, or I'm also happy to share these slides. So just a couple of characteristics of a good opening activity. It is done early, so do it right off the bat. Even if it only takes 30 seconds, we'll give you some examples. Has to be done early because I'm going to decide whether or not my learning environment is safe really within the first few minutes. And you've lost them if you have not engaged them in some way in those first few minutes. Some of them may have already decided that you're not worth their time or they're not welcome here, and so they're not going to engage. So it really does need to be done early. I say it needs to be meaningful to the learning. So connect your activity to something that you're going to learn. Don't just play the name game. I mean, that's a fine game. But if you want to really step up your opening activities game, try to come up with an activity that actually prepares me for the learning ahead and builds rapport amongst the people in the room. Make it easy, make it low stakes, make it short, and make it fun. Right? So do something that's a little bit engaging. a game, an activity, something that helps people feel like they already know something about the subject, makes me feel successful. All of that stuff are good guidelines for how you can build opening activities. Again, bottom of the page, there's some really great references if you want to learn more about why you start at the beginning or what kinds of activities are good to do right at the start of your session. So let's talk about some examples. I'm going to list some, and then we're going to do some together, and then we're going to share some with each other. So one example is maybe just like a quick and easy game to show people that they already know something, right? So a Mentimeter, a poll everywhere, a Kahoot, a Quizlet, a Zoom poll is a great way to get people to start building schema and share what they already know. Or how about a quick activity for groups where people can build that community? Maybe just have everybody introduce themselves and talk about where they're from or why they're here, right? So that's what we did at the beginning here, right off the bat. Tell me who you are, tell me your role, tell me where you come from, right? Maybe have them share something that they want to know in a collaborative document. We'll talk about that a little bit. Or maybe you can decide together as a group how the session will run. And we'll do some more of that next week if you want to come back. If you're just in a one-to-one session with a student, how about just starting off with telling something a little bit about yourself, right? And ask them to do the same. Or ask them about something they're good at in a class or a success that they've had in the course. Or one of our colleagues from Chaffey College like to do a game called What Did You Bring With You Today? Where they share something that they brought with them that's going to help them learn in the session that day. Maybe it's a pen, maybe it's a cup of coffee, but what did you bring with you that's going to help you learn today? So with that, I would love it if you would just find that chat and tell me what is one thing that you do to open a session. So if you want to share something, please do share that in the chat. And as we go along, we're going to show you some other ways and other activities as well. So if you'd like to share something in the chat, go right ahead. All right, so Madhushi, show us our first opening activity.
Thanks, Crystal. So let's try an opening activity, actually. So we're going to take a Zoom poll. Crystal is going to launch it for you. Take it away, Crystal. And so you guys should see it on the screen right now. We're going to give you guys 2 minutes to take it. Go ahead, read through the questions, answer it, and then we'll discuss. Okay, that's our 2 minutes, and all of you participated. Amazing. I love that. So Crystal is going to share the results. And if anyone wants to look at the results and point out something that they noticed, you can put it in the chat or you can raise your hand if you'd like to share.
I will say that I see a lot of people just take a moment to introduce themselves and discuss what they want to learn. That's pretty awesome. We have several people who do Kahoots and Quizlets as starters. And we do have a lot of people who also just have people go around, share names, pronouns, what they want to learn, or introduce people in the chat. So a lot of good common strategies.
Yeah, those are some great common strategies, especially to establish community and, make everyone comfortable. So great. I love all of this. Thank you so much for sharing and participating in our Zoom poll. Now we are going to show you how you can have your own Zoom poll in the session. So at the bottom when you're in Zoom, at the bottom, there's a black bar, and that's where you can click polls. And once you click polls, you're able to edit them. And right here, as you can see on the screen, you get to type in your questions and put in whatever choices that you want your participants to take note of. We suggest keeping it short and simple because it is an opening activity, but you are allowed to put as many questions as you would like. And as you can see, you make it anonymous, so your participants don't have to worry or feel self-conscious about, oh no, I put in the wrong answer. Not a problem. So, and the fun thing about Zoom polls is that you actually can edit them asynchronously. So while you're in your session, if for whatever reason you think, wow, this would be a perfect time to do a poll just to check prior knowledge or anything like that, you can just add it. Though, of course, you can set it up ahead of time as well. And they are a really easy, quick, fun way to do an opening activity. So try it out for your next session. And again, when you look at your different polls, you can see if you have multiple ones going on, and you just open it, click launch, and there it is.
Yeah, thank you so much, Madushi. So sometimes we need to kind of get people ready for what they should expect in the session. So let's talk a little bit about some norms or expectations we should establish with our students. So the first kind of three things that is really essential in this online learning environment are technology, your role as a peer educator, and those community agreements. So with technology, you know, we're using a bunch of different platforms. Some people are in Discord, Zoom, Google Meet. So actually how to use that platform, some students are brand new. So telling them about how to use the technology and how to interact is really essential. And then some people have never actually gone to a peer educator, whether that's a mentor or a tutor or an SI leader, they don't know what you do. So you definitely want to introduce yourself and talk about what your role is, what you can and can't do, how long they have with you in that session, and also what you'll be able to accomplish during the time that is allotted. And finally, the community agreements, which is just as we showed a little bit earlier, our community agreements, how we expect the session to go. So what's acceptable behavior, what's not acceptable behavior, what do we expect in terms of interaction, how's that going to go? Is it purely lecture? Hopefully not. And it's really important to describe how you engage in powerful learning. Go ahead and go to the next slide. So we are going to show a video example of how you establish some norms. But before we show that video, we want you, in the next slide, to be thinking about specific things as you're watching this video. So one of our tutors shot this video, did a little simulation. We want you to notice what kinds of moves they make, what strategies, what are they pulling from? And if you have some questions or something that you didn't see this tutor do, that maybe you do that's been successful, we want you to write all of that in the chat. So Crystal's gonna pull up video.
I see we have a handful of people here, so let's go ahead and get started. First of all, welcome to tutoring. I'm really excited that you're here. If you've never attended tutoring before, I know it can be a little bit confusing. So my goal for today is to briefly introduce myself and establish the norms and protocol that you and I can expect at these tutoring sessions. So all you need to access tutoring is my schedule and my Zoom link. I'll be in this Zoom meeting at the days and times that I've listed every single week. And if I ever need to change my schedule, either a temporary change or a permanent change, there will be an announcement that describes it on the homepage of the LAPC Geology Canvas shell. So please look out for these announcements and make sure you're in that shell. As for introducing myself, I'm a geology major at UC Berkeley who was formerly a geology major at Pierce. I took the exact class you're taking now and fell in love with geology. I began to tutor the subject soon after and have now tutored it for years. And I absolutely adore tutoring, and every semester I feel like I learn so much from my students. So in terms of Zoom etiquette, I'll always keep my camera on and my mic unmuted, and I would prefer for you to keep your cameras on too, but please feel free to do whatever makes you comfortable. Also, feel free to unmute yourself and jump in whenever you have comments or questions. Please do mute yourself though in moments you're not speaking if you have a lot of background noise, just to make sure everybody can hear. If unmuting yourself and jumping into conversation sounds overwhelming, you're welcome to grab my attention with the raise hand Zoom feature so I can help quiet the group discussion to hear your comment. You're also totally welcome to use the chat feature, but please note that as a human, it's hard for me to process a fast-paced discussion and read comments from the chat at the same time. It may be difficult for me to read and register your comments synchronously alongside the discussion, but I will make sure to stop multiple times during the session to read through the chat and make sure I didn't miss anything. So just a few final expectations before we get started here. Usually a handful of people attend these sessions and we run it like a free-form discussion. I won't call on people or elicit mandatory feedback, but if I see all the participation is coming from 1 or 2 students, I will encourage quieter students to speak up. And I may not be your professor, but I am still a tool for your personal success in this class. So I will not give out answers or enable any academic dishonesty. You're all better than that. This is an active discussion. We'll explore finding the answers together. I may answer your question with another question. I'll also invite you to take out your notes, textbooks, videos, and other learning materials at the start of the session. That way we can find the answers to our questions, and we can also learn to be better learners as we work our way through the content. You will be confused sometimes. Heck, I'm confused sometimes too. That's great. Confusion is necessary for learning. It's okay to ask those questions. Let's encourage each other to make this a safer space to figure all this stuff out. With all that said, I've introduced you to myself, my tutoring sessions, and some of the norms I've set to keep these sessions running smoothly. Next, we'll all briefly introduce ourselves, answer any questions you may have about how tutoring works, and then we'll get started.
All right, there you go. 3 minutes. Thank you, Katie. All right, let's discuss. Take it away, Cameron.
All right, everybody. So we're going to be talking about a thing we're going to be doing called Give One, Get One. So what do I mean by Give One, Get One? So basically, we're going to be going into a collaborative document where we're going to share ideas of what we think or have used as icebreakers. So in Give One, you give out an idea like, say, I like to do something that causes some people to be less stressed, something like that. So you give one out, you give a strategy out. Get one is after you is coming up with strategies that you may have heard of and you liked. So we're going to be sharing ideas here. So the idea about this is that we're sharing concepts to help break the tension and create a little more calm environment in our tutoring sessions on classrooms. By the way, as a warning here, we're going to be starting doing breakout groups soon. So if you are not ready or can't be in a breakout session, please remember to message Lindsay ahead of time, because if you don't, you're going to actually get put into a breakout room, and then the other people in the room are going to be wondering, why aren't you responding? So please let us know. Remember to message Lindsay. Next slide, please. All right, so we're going to be going to share the collaborative document, and we're going to give you about 2 minutes to come up with ideas and share out things that you think work very well, things you would like to do, things you've seen other people do and thought were great. So give one out and get one out. So, all right, I'll let you guys, if anybody would like to say something, like have one they want to suggest, this is also perfectly fine to say something.
All right, and I see many of you are already there, but if you haven't already, just go into the chat, and there's a link in there. It says collab doc. So I'm going to put it in there one more time. I see several of you are already there, so if you haven't already done so, go ahead and click the link in the chat. And at this point, you've seen us do some intros and icebreakers using the chat feature. You've seen us do Zoom polls. You've seen Katie do a full 3-minute introduction about the technology. So we've seen a lot of examples of opening activities and sessions. So if you've seen something that you would like to try, put it here in the get one column. These are icebreakers and openers that you'd like to try, right? So like, for example, you saw Katie say, you know what, you can turn your camera on, I'd like it, but you don't have to, right? That was a nice balance. Maybe I want to try that. But you'd also have some icebreakers and activities of your own that you would love to share, and we want to see them too. So go ahead and put any icebreakers that you use that have been really successful that you'd like to share with somebody else in this column right here, so we can all work together and come up with a nice list. All right, so we're going to give you another sort of silent minute to fill this out. Any questions before we give you a silent minute to fill this out? Okay, take it away. Look at him go.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Love to
You guys are
see
doing
typing in real
great.
time.
I know it's beautiful watching y'all put this work in. It's great.
All right, go ahead and finish up what you're typing now. It's been about 2 minutes, but don't worry, we're going to put you in groups and you'll continue to discuss and add to this document. So we just wanted to make sure you knew how the document worked before we throw you into breakout rooms to continue on. So just take a pause and whatever it is that you're typing out now, and Cameron will explain how the breakouts work.
Okay, so we're going to be putting everyone into small groups. In these small groups, we would like you to share out one of the breakout ideas that you've had and talk amongst each other about which ones you liked and which ones you think you want to implement yourself. So if you see something in the shared document that you're like, wow, I really like this idea, then talk about it. If you have an idea that you share too, talk to your fellow group members about ideas that you would like to use or ideas you actually have used in the classroom. This is a moment we're going to be sharing ideas. So we're going to be putting you into groups and we're going to talk about the give one, get one strategies for icebreakers.
All right, so you have 12 minutes in those breakout rooms to go ahead and discuss and also to continue filling out this document. If we run out of space, we'll just tab, tab, tab and keep going for eternity.
It's
So
wonderful if we have more people fill out. Like, don't be afraid to overshare in this. It's great. Like as many ideas as you can share. It's beautiful.
And somebody just asked me, will you have access to the shared document? Absolutely. You'll have access to this forevermore. So you can copy it, use it, make your own, whatever it is that you like. Are there any other questions before we open up the breakout rooms? All right, Lindsay, open them up. I'll see you back here in 12 minutes, everybody. Go ahead and start. All right, welcome back, Sojourners.
Hey, everyone.
So did anybody come up with or hear a breakout from somebody else that they wanted to try? Or I'm sorry, not a breakout, an opening activity they want to try? You poor first people back. I always put you on the spot.
You can also raise your hand or type in the chat if you have if you can't have your mic on.
All right. All right. I think everybody's back now. Welcome back, everybody. So we're just going to have a share. So we have some questions that we've prepared. We would love it if you could share out a little bit, either raise your hand and tell us something that somebody said that was awesome that you want to try, or share some element of the discussion, principles of an opening activity, and so on. If you don't feel comfortable raising your hand and want to speak out, that's okay. We would love to hear your ideas in the chat as well. Like, what's something that you heard from somebody else? And to get us started, we were looking over this collaborative document, which is kind of phenomenal. Look at this. Look at all this stuff we generated together. We had some questions about this one. We really liked this one. So somebody said, in another meeting, the icebreaker was to begin the session with a moment in history update, i.e. Hispanic Heritage Month, impactful figures, Black History Month, important events, etc. I'm wondering if the author of that comment wouldn't mind unmuting themselves and telling us a little bit more about how that went down and what context that was in, because that sounded really interesting.
Okay, so that would be me.
Thanks for coming.
And so it was like a research meeting. And so it only happens once a month. So that happened to fall in during the Hispanic Heritage Month. So she just started off, well, since we're in, month, September, it was like 23rd or something. And so she figured, well, we're in the middle, right smack in the middle of Hispanic Heritage Month. And so I thought I'd get us started with, an important event that happened. And so she went on and she just explained an event and, where, it comes from and just some facts that I didn't even know. So I was like, actually, I like that. That was really awesome. That because sometimes these meetings only happen monthly. So, and then we try to focus a lot of, I work with, student equity and making sure we're culturally aware. So I thought that was great because, we can try to give these ideas for other meetings as well. So I thought that was really cool.
Wonderful. Thank you
Yeah.
so much. Really appreciate that. We really enjoyed that. That might be a great activity, particularly within a context where we're learning about that sort of thing. So like a sociology class or a history class or an art history class or something like that. Like, again, like tying it into the curriculum, really talking about something that's super relevant, but also something that feels like it's connected to the learning. We loved that idea. Super awesome. Thank you. Does anybody else like to share? Madushi, did you see anything in the chat that people are sharing?
Yes, actually, Rosette brought up a really good point, which she likes to use the KWL method in individual sessions. And that just made me realize, like, yeah, opening activities are important in individual sessions too. And the KWL is a perfect one to do if you're having a one-on-one session. So thanks so much for sharing that, Rosette.
And Rosette, I'm just wondering, I know there's some cats here that don't know what a KWL is, and we're actually going to do a KWL in a couple of weeks, in 3 weeks, so come back for more. But Rosette, would you mind unmuting yourself and telling us a little bit about what a KWL looks like, what it is, and how you would use it as an opener? Because that's great.
Okay, so this wasn't actually something that I really use in my sessions, but in my breakout session, one of the people in my group was talking about it, and I thought that it would just be perfect to apply in my tutoring sessions, because I pretty much only do one-on-one individual sessions with students.
So could you lay out what a KWL looks like, or maybe the person in your team who does KWLs can talk a little bit about what that KWL looks like, what it is, just in like a nutshell?
I think
So I was the one who shared the KWL technique.
All right.
Hello, everybody. My name is Kushi, and I'm an English tutor at Los Angeles Pierce College. So I noticed in the breakout room, all of us usually tutor only one-on-one students and not like workshops or group students. So we try to figure out what would work best for one-on-one tutoring. So first, it's a basic introduction that who I am, what major I am, and my pronouns. But a great way to know what the student who has come here to help, come to you to get help. A great way to know what they want to know on what they already knows is the KWL chart. So K stands for what you know, W stands for what you want to know, and L stands for what you have learned. So once the tutoring session starts, you can send them a Google Doc or something which has the KW chart there, and you can tell them to fill out what you already know. So maybe let's say for I tutor English, so they can say, I know the MLA format, I know how to do citations. And for what you want to know, they can say, I want to learn how to create an essay outline. So once the tutoring session is over, before they go, you can tell them to fill out the L part of the KWL chart and say what you learned today. This way they can actually visually see what they got out from the tutoring session and have it with them as well.
Thank you, and well summarized too. So let me see if I can. Oh, I can't. Will somebody give her a heart? I can't seem to get to my reactions since I'm hosting right now and sharing a screen. So
I clapped and I hearted.
Very nice.
Oh, we see so many hearts. I love it.
I love it. I'm receiving so much love. Yay.
Beautiful. Thank you. Fabulous. All right. Anybody else hear about something? We have time for maybe one more share out. We would love to hear something that you heard from somebody else, or some principles or ideas that you surfaced in your discussion that you think we could benefit from. Anybody else want to share? All right. Well, I do want to share something that we talked about when you were all gone. We had some folks who were able to share with us who didn't go into the breakout rooms. We ended up having a nice discussion, and we just talked about kind of basic principles of opening activities. And we really started talking about the kinds of opening activities that we liked and the kinds of opening activities that we've seen people do that we have not liked, right? The ones that have not worked so well for us. And I just maybe wanted to close with a quick summary of what we talked about just in terms of principles for opening activities. We talked about how the opening activities are really best when they're connected to what it is that we're learning. They're quick, right? We don't spend half of our session doing like an icebreaker or introductions, because sometimes students can come in really anxious about getting to that math problem or getting to that session. And so if you have a 30-minute session and you spend 10 of it doing an opening activity, sometimes that can kind of defeat the purpose and detract from the community rather than building it. So we did talk about how important it is to kind of keep it short and keep it relevant. And also we just talked about being mindful of sort of like how people might be feeling about those opening activities. If we're asking people to share really personal information, that can feel kind of uncomfortable. Not everybody's super comfortable with that. And also if we're asking people to share information that is in no way connected to the learning, I think somebody shared like the favorite color. Opening activity maybe wasn't so successful because it's just like, okay, I don't feel connected to you because you like the same color that I like, right? Like how did, you know, so like really thinking of things that would build community and connection quickly and in a way that prepares us for the learning. Those really came up as important principles for us. Does anybody on our team want to share any more about that, or did I cover it?
One of the things we talked about was like that activities that are relevant to the topic really help build the concept of community. Like one of the things I talked about was in my graduate program, we did an activity where we not just introduced ourselves, we said like, what was the thing that made us actually want to do political science? So I was like, I'm doing political science because I'm very much interested in queer theory and LGBTQ policies. So like what that did is it let my fellow students know that I have what my interest was relevant to the topic, and it lets them kind of see like what I'm focusing on. So if they have any ideas, we can talk about it. So I think those kind of icebreaker activities really allows us to share out information relevant to the course that also has a level of personalness, because each of us are taking a course or in a class for a very particular reason, and it keeps relevant and it's not overly personal.
Great, thank you. Anybody else like to share something that they said or heard that's important or that they liked in terms of a principle or an activity? You can go ahead and raise your hand or put it in the chat. All right. So thank you all so much for this wonderful discussion. Let's talk about next steps. So we are actually going to hang out. So we're here until 4:30. So if you want to stay and ask questions, share ideas, if you want to hear more about KWL, we can talk about that. We can do a little KWL demo if you'd like. Kushi, if you want to stick back, we can maybe have you tell us about how you do it. If you need to go, we totally understand. We know that some of us have dinner to cook and people to tend to. Come back next week, same time at 3 o'clock. Next week, we're going to talk about setting norms or community agreements at the beginning of your session in order to ensure that your session is running smoothly and that you anticipate and maybe even avoid those awkward and or uncomfortable or downright rude situations that happen in your tutoring sessions occasionally. So if you'd like to hear about a couple of different ways that you can set norms and expectations and community agreements, come on back next week at 3 o'clock. Also, if you would like to do one of these, we have a call for proposals out. So in spring 2022, we're going to invite lots of other people to host these sessions. So if you're interested in potentially hosting this session, I'm going to put a link in the chat for you to put in a call for proposal yourself. So you tell us what you would like to talk about or what somebody at your campus would like to do a session like this on. And then I'm just putting a couple of other links in the chat now. So the first one is the call for proposals. The second one is a feedback link. So super important that you give us feedback. So If you liked today or you have some suggestions for what we could do in the future, we really, really do enjoy that feedback. Please give that to us. And also, if you'd like to sign up for more workshops like this going forward, we have them every single week at 3 o'clock on Fridays, except for Thanksgiving. I think that's the only one we're taking off, all the way through December. The first 4 weeks will be done by us. So this team is here this week and then the next 3 weeks. And after that, we're inviting folks from all over the country to come and present for us the best of what they do and what works, and leading more discussions. All right. So that wraps it up for us. Thank you all so much. If you have questions, do email me. It's just my first name, crystal@3csn.org. If you want to stick around, we would love it if you could stick around. We can talk about KWL and other strategies. But if you got to go, thank you, and we'll hope to see you next week.